Today, you're going to learn how to deal with crisis. Now, this is a technique that I've learned from being on a disciplined spiritual path for the last 17 years. And I've also spent my entire career as a psychotherapist supporting families who have been in crisis and how to lead them through that process in a way that they really grow and find good in the hard times. So I first learned this, and this all came together for me about, I'll say 15 years ago. On one weekend, three things happened. One, I was fired from my job. I was laid off. I was working as a therapist with a program, and my position got cut. I wasn't good enough. Essentially, I wasn't good enough in my job to stay on. Someone else stayed in a different place, so that was a major blow to just my kind of professional self-esteem, you could call it. Secondly, I broke up with my girlfriend at the time. And we'd been together, and it was like a deep, loving, powerful relationship I think we've been together for about a year or so. And we just suddenly decided to break up. And then thirdly, I had to move out of the house that we were sharing because we lived together. So I didn't have a job, I didn't have a place to live, and I was totally brokenhearted. Fortunately, I had an amazing community of people that I reached out to and needed support from, and which led me actually to live at this ashram, which is a spiritual center, because I had nowhere else to go. And I was like, please, can I just stay there? And I called a mentor of mine, just sobbing on the phone, and he let me stay there. And then days turned to weeks, turned to months, and here I am now as a celibate monk. So here's what I found. The first thing that we should do when we're in a crisis, and we have to kind of make time for this, is to go within, meaning spend some time with yourself. Now, again, that can be challenging because if you're in a crisis, it's usually something is demanding time of you, and it's pulling you into action. And what I've found is that we need to find times to resist that impulse to solve the problem from the outside in. Now, of course, it depends on the crisis, because you might just have to absolutely be in action, and it may be very difficult to make time for yourself. So whatever you can do is try to practice carving out even just moments when you wake up before you go to bed with yourself. Why? Because if we can allow whatever emotion is moving inside of us to get expressed and to move through our system, we will become more clear, which will allow us to have a greater strategy and to do intuitively what we feel like we need to do to navigate the crisis. When we are overwhelmed or there's a lot happening emotionally, then we make the decisions from stress and from survival, as opposed to practicing a calm, clear mind where we're connected to ourselves and we just know what we need to do. So that's the first thing, is do whatever you can to just be with yourself, even if it's just a few moments staring out the window with a cup of tea, right? I remember this old adage that it's the thing to do if you get lost in the wilderness. Here's the saying: don't just do something, stand there. So that's what you're supposed to do in the wilderness if you get lost. Like, don't wander off, just stay where you are and people will come and find you. This is the same thing with this principle. Don't just do something, stand there and go inside, right? And spend time with yourself. So do all you can to find moments, minutes, maybe an hour to connect with yourself. Have someone else take charge and direct whatever the crisis is for a minute, and spend time with yourself. Maybe someone can even guide you spending time with yourself, a mentor, a coach like I had in that example, or a therapist, right? So that's the first thing, is go within. It will reap so many great rewards on how you then deal with the crisis if you can just spend those moments with yourself. Number 2, get support from someone who knows more than you about the crisis you're going through. Now, for 20 years, I was that person. I was the person who knew more than these parents who were really struggling with their family and with their young person. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't know why their young person was making the choices that they were making. And I was someone that they came to, and I did the best that I could to guide them. Now, it meant a lot to me in that role to be a person who was emotionally stable, who was mature, who was professional, who was knowledgeable about working with young people and families in crisis. So when they came to me, that was part of why I ultimately became a monk, is because I wanted so much to be of service and offer the best support direction and work, professional work that I could do with this family, so that it was really important for me to be resourced within myself. So if you're going through a crisis, find an expert. I mean, there is so much information out there on YouTube and various social media. There are so many people that are posting free, good content on what to do if you're struggling with X, Y, or Z. So get support, reach out, and you'll be guided if you do step one. If you go within, if you be with yourself, there'll be an intuitive sense of where you're supposed to go and who you're supposed to talk to, or who can be helpful. Now, the first person you talk to may not be the best person, but they will lead you down the road of getting the support and the direction and the external that you need. Remember, the inside can dictate the outside, and this is no exception from that. We want to get out of the game of having the external world create and dictate our internal world. If we create the internal world, and in this case, just give it some space to be expressed, some space to feel, then that can inform steps that we take for the external world, right? And number 3, get in action. This is the opposite of don't just do something, stand there. Now it's time to don't just stand there, do something, right? There's only so much that we can do around being with ourselves, feeling how we're feeling, until it becomes more like we're indulging in that. And there is always a time when we got to put on our big boy, big girl, big person pants and get out there and take care of things, right? Now we want to take care of things with an open heart. And we want to do it in a way that we let certain people into our lives so that we're not doing it alone. I think a lot of people, especially more people in the masculine end of the spectrum, or males or dads or brothers or guys or bros, want to just like do it ourselves. It's a very masculine trait, not so much feminine. So even if you're a female, right, that's a very masculine trait. So the more that you can allow people into your world to support you, that will support you going inside yourself and being tender with yourself, and it'll also support you getting support from experts. All right. All my best to you. You've got this, and all my best.